gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hold it. I'm a bad man. I took up the world. I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's why I said, Larry, on the bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you can call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Pieces and blessings upon all my AKHis and all my sisters out there. Welcome to Split Decision, episode 69. And today I have a very, very special guest, Bill, the real deal Haney, the father, the trainer of the youngest champion in the world, Devin Haney, and also the CEO of DH Promotion. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, man.
Great having you on the show, like always. Always a pleasure having you on Split Decision. So I'm going to go ahead and start it off with you right away. Obviously, Devin Haney just fought November 7th. Happy. He had a birthday. So happy late birthday to the champ. What was your assessment on Devin Haney's performance against Gamboa?
Well, I mean, thank you for always having me on the show, man. Blessings to everybody, who's in the chat, and everybody who's watching. Shout out, to all the families that'll be getting together, and being safe. Hopefully, you guys will be being safe and and enjoy these times. Other than that, getting back to some boxing. We had a great night on that 7th of November. Devin got in there and did what he was supposed to do. Dominate a Gamboa. A veteran fighter who, on that particular night came in and, he immediately recognized the different skill set that Devin had that was different than anything that he had been in there with. Just like I've always tell anyone, you can watch it from home, you can talk about it on the keyboards, but when you actually get a chance to get in there with him, it's something, it's a whole different animal, and on that particular night, Mr. Gamboa, he did the best he could. Shout out to him and his team for showing up and giving us the opportunity that they did. But on that particular night, he noticed something that was special about Devin. And he, it's between fighter and fighter, and team and team. He took off his hat to us and definitely let Devin know that his skills were on a whole entirely different level.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, Gamboa is a Hall of Fame fighter. There's no doubt about that. However, against Devin Haney, because Devin Haney was, saying that he was going to knock him out and stuff like that, do you think that Gamboa had the mindset from kind of like the early rounds that he wanted to go the distance? Like his main objective wasn't really to win, but, just to go 12 rounds. That's why he didn't let his hands go. Like we usually see Gamboa, he usually explosive, but against Devin Haney, he was, it's safe to say he was extremely cautious, holding all night, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, that's better in tactics, but you think that he had his mind made up? His main objective from round one is, hey, I'm gonna go 12 rounds with Devin Haney.
Well, I mean, initially going in there, I don't think that he has his mind made up that he's going to do anything but try to be the best Gamboa he can be, and go in there and put on the performances like he's been putting on. But as you see, it was nothing similar to anything ever that he's done. You've never seen Gamboa hold and hold and hold and hold. I mean, to the point that Devin was telling him to stop holding. The ref was telling him to stop holding. I was telling him to stop holding. And you know what I mean? And that's just the way that the night went, and the fighter before that, Santiago, holding and holding, you know what I mean? And that's what you're gonna do with Devin. Um, we're gonna neutralize you, you know what I mean? Take away your best shit from you, you know what I mean? And just dominate you and beat you up to the point that, that's what you want to do. You want to hang on. And, it's fighters like Gamboa that know that, how not to get knocked out, how to not engage. But, you know, he's shout out to him, like I said, for coming in and giving us an opportunity. But I think that you know, once he realized the skill set that Devin has, then he quickly, abandoned his initial plans and kind of, resorted to, like I said, going into more of a survival mode.
Right. You mentioned, that Devin Haney, he fought multiple fighters and they always, pretty much hold him when you think it's the other way around because Devin Haney is the boxer. But obviously, Devin Haney, he could bang, he could box, he could fight in the inside, and he could also move around the ring. So, what's the lesson learned from the Gamboa fight? Uh, is it, fight out of a clinch or, things of that sort?
I mean, just with the veteran fighter like him, I mean, always you say, well, we could have started a little bit earlier with this or started a little bit early with that. Clearly it was a shutout, you know what I mean? So we just move on.
Right. So, a common opponent that both Devin Haney and Javante have right now is Gamboa. So assessing both performances, who you believe did a better job?
Well, absolutely. Devin did a better job. I mean, I don't even think that Gamboa had a moment, you know what I mean? Or let alone even a clean shot against Devin, you know? Um, like, and shout out to once again the Gamboa going 12 rounds with both Tank and going 12 rounds with Devin. Only, I mean, Gamboa, the ref stopped it. The ref waved the fight off in the 12th with Devin, and the opposite happened with Tank. Of course, the ref waved it off, and with Devin, the opposite happened. That went into the judge's hand, and the judges decided that I think two judges had it a complete shutout, and one other judge maybe gave him a round or something.
Right, right. Now, obviously, Devin Haney always been eyeing his, he keeping his eyes on Javante Tank Davis. That's one of the biggest fights for him since they are both rivals. Uh, is that fight possible? And when can we see that fight between Devin Haney and Javante Tank Davis?
I don't think Devin keeps his eye on Tank Davis as much as he keeps his ear to the ground and in tune with what the people want to see in the fights that the people want to see. You know, I mean, he's not one to back down on a challenge, and I mean, he's a very competitive champion. So he looks to make the best fights happen that the people want to see, and not necessarily it be personally towards any one particular champion or another.
Right, right. So when can we possibly see the Javante Tank Davis fight? When do you see that fight happen? And if we speak in, in a realistic point of view,
it takes two to tango. Two sides to make it happen. But first things first is the people must demand the fight happening. If the people want to see it, of course they make everything happen. They're the ones that put the revenue and the places that it needs to go for the fights to be generated. It all starts with the demand of the people. So if the people demand the fight, then of course that's what Devin is into. He's into legacy and being a champion to be remembered. And a fight with Tank Davis and him, I'm sure is something that the people would love to see.
right, right, yeah, that's a great fight. Hopefully that fight happen sooner than later. And obviously Devin and Tank was beefing on Twitter, in which they were going back and forth, and Tank said, you know, Devin doesn't even own his own cars. So, what was your take on that whole saga between Tank and Devin Haney beefing back on Twitter over the Gamboa fight?
I mean, I don't get into the specifics of them beefing. I mean, that just sounds crazy because we know Devin is getting money. He's been a millionaire for quite some time now, so he's able to buy what he wants to buy, and I'm sure that Tank is doing the same thing. So putting those things to the side, it still makes for a hell of an event, and with both of them being undefeated champions, I'm sure if the crowds came out or if the crowds were at home watching, it would be a hell of a fight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I do have a super chat for you real quick. Uh, Haney versus Ryan. Can this fight happen, or is Haney going for the kill versus Lopez? Question mark.
Obviously, we're in a position that we would like either of those fights. All three of those fights: the Davis fight, the Garcia fight, and the Campbell. The Davis fight, the Garcia fight, and the Lopez fight are all big fights. Garcia is in a tough fight, I think, with Campbell, which is not just a walkover. So I always include Luke Campbell in the conversation because they have a date set up, I think, in January. So between those four, they all make for great fights. And Devin is prepared for any one of them being the next.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, obviously, speaking of Tio, after the Lomachenko win, he said he's willing to fight Devin next if he wanted. Obviously, Devin Haney, after he beat Gamboa, he called out Teofimo Lopez, and he said the main fight he want is Tio. Now, recently, Teofimo Lopez came out claiming that he don't see himself fighting Devin Haney until 3 years to a half a decade from now. What's your thoughts on them comments?
It's just I think it's just fighter talk. Uh, their ability to produce opponents that are that they're able to quote unquote say that are quality opponents and don't suffice the bill, meaning a Devin Haney and a Lopez fight. You can only fool the people some of the time. You won't fool all the people all the time. So it's only a matter of time before that wagon breaks down and they have to come and see us.
So, in other words, you're pretty much saying that uh, Teofimo Lopez is not going to have better name opponents than Devin Haney for the next 5 years, right? Because
Yeah,
obviously, if
absolutely.
yeah, if the standards is you got to be a better name than Devin Haney, then who is he really going to fight for the next 5 years
Right.
that's better names than Devin Haney?
Yeah, and it's no disrespect to George Cambosos, who I think that he's about to fight, but I mean, he had a split decision with one of our coaches, Mickey Bay, that we wanted to a rematch on. We want the coach to rematch, and Mickey ain't no slouch. He wasn't no slouch champion. He only got like 2 losses. So I mean, that's the kind of guy that that Cambosos should do. He should give a rematch he should rematch those 2 split decisions that he had, both Lee Selby and with Mickey Bay, to be talking about getting in front of the business with Devin and Tio, making a undisputed champion, in the lightweight division, a true and clear undisputed champion. Cambosos, you just had 2 splits with Selby, and Selby had a split with Ricky Burns, so come on, man. What are we really talking about?
Yeah, that's why when Tio made the comment of Devin Haney need to build his name for the next 5 years, uh, that shocked everybody because he did an upside down flip as far as his comment. Like he retracted a lot
Hey,
of his,
brother. See, listen.
you know,
See, that's the thing is, I came on here with my camouflage. I got my natural, and I'm all business. You dig? But now the 3.5 years. I mean, that just has to bring a laugh to anybody. You know what I mean? That's like a joke for Thanksgiving or something. 3 to 5 years that our name should build up a name that's qualified. The shit didn't even make sense. I can't even repeat it. You know what I mean? The people heard what it is. You know,
right.
but
Well, what's your take on Tio claiming that Ryan only needs to beat a guy like Luke Campbell and he automatically earns the shot with Tio? But on the other hand, Devin Haney, he needs who's the champion. Obviously, Ryan Garcia is not the champion. Devin Haney is. Devin Haney, on the other hand, who happened to be the champion, he has to prove himself for a half a decade to earn a shot with Teo Lopez. What's your thoughts on that comparison? Why doesn't
Well,
the
when
same
his measuring stick, and what his get down is like picking. So if he's picking his way, then that's what his legacy represents. Devin is not picking. You know what I mean? He's saying anybody put him in front of him and he gonna knock him down. You know, so he's ready to go.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yes,
we
sir.
accept mandatories, we accept anything, we accept petitions, we accept anything. You know, whoever's next and whoever's ready.
Yes, sir. And I have another super chat for you. How hard will it be for Devin Haney to get the big fights, being that he put a spectacular performance against Gamboa?
Well, I mean, I think he put on a quintessential boxing performance. He put on a boxing performance, and then you have a complete brawler performance in Tank Davis. So you put those guys in a mix, you know, and you have a great event. You know, you can't have one.
Yeah, I lost you for a second, Bill.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you back
Can you hear
on.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah. So let me say that question again. Um,
Oh man. Uh, hello, Bill. I lost you again for a second. If you can hear me, Bill, I think we lost you for a second. Can you hear us? Hold on. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little technical difficulties, but Bill Haney should be right back. He just most likely someone is calling him while he's on live with us, so that's obviously a technical issue right there. But I think he's back on. Yeah, can you hear me, Bill?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so you could hop. Just had a little technical difficulty, but yeah, you could.
No, no, that's when I go out. When the phone rings, then the volume should be messing up. But go ahead.
Right, right. Yes, sir.
Just say
So,
just
what
run the
was
question back.
Yeah, he was talking about, what does Devin Haney have to do in order to get these big names in the ring with him? Because obviously he the A-class boogeyman, and we not hyping him up. The fighters are hyping him up because it seemed like he's always last on the wish list. So what does Devin Haney have to do to get kind of like when Errol Spence was the boogeyman, Kell Brook gave him the opportunity. So who is going to give Devin Haney the opportunity to greatness?
Well, like I said, styles make fights. Tank has a vicious one punch knockout that makes him dangerous. For 12 rounds straight. You know what I mean? You got Teofimo Lopez, who's a brawler boxer. You know what I mean? Who's always stays in with the opportunity to also put up a knockout. You got Ryan Garcia, who's a hell of a knockout artist, and then you have Devin Haney, who can neutralize all three of them. You know what I mean? And beat them. We have the style and the skill set to beat all three of them, and we are. Devin has the style that all three of them is the kryptonite to all three of them. So we're in a great position.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Teofimo Lopez explained to his fans that the reason he was carrying 5 belts after the victory against Lomachenko is because the 2 belts he was carrying from the WBC, one was the franchise belt, he explained, and the other was the real WBC belt. So the one he had, obviously, to his left was the franchise because you could see the franchise tag on it, and the other one had a top rank logo on it, in which he claimed that's the real WBC belt. What's your take on that?
Well, we understand that if you go in the record books and you look up the WBC champion and you do all that, I mean, we've already, you know what I mean, pretty much established that the belt is a franchise. It's a franchise designation. It's not a championship belt. Therefore, it has both his name and Top Rank's name on it. He doesn't have a belt, a lightweight WBC belt of any kind, because he never won one and he never was awarded one. So the franchise destination award belt that he has, um, it just it it gives him the opportunity to become a mandatory for the real WBC lightweight title, and
Right.
you know, so he's
But
given. He says he's going to give Cambosos an opportunity at the belt. You know what I mean? We just got to see. How does the people feel about Cambosos? About him picking Cambosos to fight. Versus him picking Devin.
right now, yeah, my question to you is how you feel about Teofimo claiming that the top ranked logo belt is the real belt. How you feel about him trying to, kind of convince the fans that hey, this is the real belt. It's
Well,
the real
Well,
WBC belt.
the belt that Devin has is the same belt that Floyd, Ali, Sugar Ray, all those have the belts like that, and it has their pictures on it. It doesn't have a promoter. It doesn't have Matchroom or Top Rank, or you know what I mean. It doesn't have DHP, or it doesn't have none of that. It has the fighters, and I feel that the fighters are the ones that have earned those belts, and that there should be their faces on there, and the representative, in the case of the WBC, the representative Mauricio Suleiman, who was the president and founder of the WBC, who's the only picture that I know outside of anyone else, any other being fighters on the belt. Other than that, it's Ali, Sweet Pea, and Roberto Duran and Devin Haney on his WBC belt.
And none of those belts had excuse me, none of those champions you just mentioned, them great champions, had a franchise belt. Because for the people that's not informed, just last year or the year before that, the franchise belt did not exist. And in the lightweight division, if Teofimo moves up to 140 next, let's say he moves up to 140, this year or the upcoming year, um, is it fair to say that the franchise belt will be extinguished because once he moves up, he can't carry the belt with him to 140. So
Well,
is the franchise belt
the
gone?
franchise destination is something that you petition to the WBC for, and then they consider you and consider your, what are you doing and what you got going, and then they ultimately decide if they're going to give it to you or not. It's not something that you can challenge for. It's not something that you can win. It's something that you have to ask and petition, and they
Right.
they give you, award you. In their case, they elevate you in a position that you're not just a regular fighter, in the sense of if you move, or if you want to lay off, if you want to do whatever, when you want to come back, you become the mandatory challenger for the WBC, the real WBC World Lightweight title that Devin has.
So what is going to happen to Teofimo franchise belt once he moves up to 140? Is it going to extinguish, or like what's going to happen to it? Because nobody could fight for it. So what's going to
Well,
happen?
that's something that's between and him and Top Rank and the WBC, because the other fighters, we're not necessarily concerned with that. That's just gives him an opportunity to have an opportunity if he would want to. But if he doesn't take advantage of the opportunity, then he goes up to 140. Then of course he's not a franchise champion at 135, to my understanding. But as it goes on, and people petition, maybe things might change. I don't know. But I
Right,
know
right.
that we haven't petitioned to become any franchise champion at all. What we want to do is be a well recognized world champion in Devon, that fights his mandatories, that does all the things that Floyd did, that Ali did, that Sugar Ray did, and that's what he wants to be recognized as.
Yes. Uh, yeah, Bill, your mic got muted, so I think somebody calling Bill again while he's on live. Bill, your mic got muted. If you can hear me, your mic got muted. He be right back. You know, that's what happened when you're the CEO of a promotional company. You get a lot of calls. You know what I'm saying? Bill got like 5 phones I got to keep up with. What's going on, Bill? So,
Uh,
yeah,
okay.
all right. So,
Can you say the question again?
yeah, well, I got a new question for you now. You know what I'm saying? So, Teofimo Lopez said that he never petitioned for the franchise belt, excuse me. However, before the fight with the WBC, the president Suleiman came out and said that Teo Lopez requested the franchise belt with Top Rank. To that, you say what? Like, why is he saying that he did not petition for the belt when Suleiman, the president, said that Teofimo Lopez did?
Um, so tell me, ask me the question one more time, bro, so I can get a clear understanding of the question that you're asking.
Yeah, so Teo Lopez, he recently had an interview with Brian Custer in which he
Okay.
stated he did not petition for the WBC franchise belt, even though recently Suleiman came out on Boxing Scene in which he stated Teo Lopez petitioned for or he requested. He said Teo Lopez requested the WBC belt. Uh, excuse me. Teo Lopez requested the franchise belt if he beat Lomachenko. That's what Suleiman said. But Teo disagrees. He said that I never petitioned for the belt. So what's your take on that?
That's absolutely and that's absolutely incorrect. Oh, I know.
Yes.
That's absolutely incorrect, right? Because with the franchise designation, you have to petition. It's not something that they just award you or just bestow upon you. You have to have it part of your plan when you're moving as a champion. It has to be somewhere in your plans that, okay, I want, can I get the franchise designation to make a different fight happen so I don't have to do my mandatory? And that's what Lomachenko did. Now, when Teofimo got the franchise, when he applied for the franchise designation, it had to be applied before the fight happened. So he applied for it, and you can look it up. It's you just type it in. Uh, Lopez applies for franchise designation with Top Rank to the WBC, and once you do that, then you automatically let them know that you don't want to fight the WBC champion. Not right now, but they respect you enough. It has enough respect on a designation that it gives you an opportunity to fight at a later date. So it's not like an old school where you just get stripped, or you just vacate the belt. You vacate the belt with honors. So that's what
So,
they've
so
allowed for those champions.
in other words, it's another way to save face. You pretty much get stripped of the belt, but to save face, you receive a French fries box in the mail. Kind of to save face that hey, I didn't get stripped. I received another title. So obviously, that's the
But
case.
but see with you, and I'm always optimistic about the franchise designation in the sense of that the people are the ones that make the fight happen. So with Teofimo's franchise designation, he can right now say, I want to fight Devin Haney and I want to make this fight for everything. And you know what I mean? For that, you know what I mean? We would understand that, Teofimo would be taking on a big challenge, but like he said before, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, you take chances, to get big rewards. So we know that that's not a fight that is the best style matchup for T.O. You know what I mean? But the people know, and the boxing community knows that that's the fight to be made right now
Yes,
in the
sir. Yes,
lightweight division.
I mean, for all marvels, for all belts, for the true undisputed, you have to see it. But obviously, is there to give Tio the benefit of the doubt? is it possible that he's not informed that maybe, I mean, Top Rank petition for the belt without his permission as a CEO
No,
of
you can't. You
DH
can't.
Promotion?
You can't do that. You can't,
Yeah,
as a company, petition without a fighter to agreeing to the fight, agreeing to the terms of it as a company, and a promoter. You can't do that.
just to make it clear, as a CEO of obviously DH Promotion, that you're the president of, you won't petition for a title like that without Devin Haney blessings or
Oh,
permission, right?
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And it's the same thing for Tio and Top Rank, right?
Yeah, but Mauricio had said that Teofimo Lopez, himself, and he also said Vasil Lomachenko, both him himself had petitioned and understood what the petition was and understood what they were doing.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah, I was trying to obviously give Tio the benefit of the doubt, but either way you look at it, it don't make no sense. So we have a super chat. Is there such thing as a heavyweight franchise belt?
You know what? It's strictly upon the fighter and the fighter's team in terms of picking that route and what they're going that route and why would they put the franchise tied to their to their fighter or whatever, so it's a case by case basis according to what I'm hearing. And I think as of now, Canelo, Lomachenko, and Teofimo Lopez are the only franchise champions that the WBC has had since they've started the belt.
Right. So when it comes to obviously two fighters that had the franchise belt at 135, Lomachenko did.
Wilder,
You know,
I think Wilder was offered the belt and he didn't take it. He didn't want
yeah,
it.
because he want to fight his mandatories, right?
Right.
Uh, so yeah, like I said, when it comes to the lightweight division, though, we know we had two franchise champions, which is Lomachenko and obviously Tio Lopez. Now, Tio, all he had to do was beat Comey to earn a shot with Lomachenko. But Devin Haney has to work for a half a decade in order to earn a shot with Tio Lopez. Now, for the people that say, "Oh well, Devin Haney haven't fought this guy, Devin Haney fought that guy," uh, Tio's making it clear. It don't matter who Devin Haney fight next. It don't matter who Devin Haney fight next year. It don't matter who Devin Haney fight for the next 4 years. He has to work for a half a decade to earn a shot with Devin Haney. Does that mean he recognized Devin Haney as the most dangerous rival of his because he's treating him in such a manner like that?
I think
Because obviously Tio Senior did the same thing. He said the dream fight for his son is Devin Haney in the next couple years. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, respectfully, I think that with all of them, they know that their big fight, and all the roads leads through Devon, and it's just a great place for us to be in. You know what I mean? As a team, Devon as a fighter with the skill set that he possesses. You know what I mean? We're not scared of none of them. Bring them all.
Yeah. So obviously, you could reveal it or you could pass, but the fans want to know. They really want to know. A fan sent me this question. He told me to ask you, since pretty much Devin Haney, excuse me, since pretty much Tio Lopez called Devin Haney an email champion, even though he the one that petitioned for a franchise title through email, and he stayed disrespecting Devin Haney every chance he gets. Can you guys reveal the conversation Tio had with Devin Haney on FaceTime? Because Devin said they agreed to fight in 2021. However, now you hear Tio saying everything and anything but to fight in 2021.
What he did say was that they didn't need to, that I know of, that I can say is that they didn't want to do anything to fall out and not make the fight happen. So you know what I mean. They talked and they remained civil and remained civil enough to understand that it's more better for them to be talking and negotiating than to be arguing. You know what I mean. And obviously making the thing move farther away from happening than making it happen.
So, are you guys negotiating?
Anytime that you can get those two guys to talk and to agree. You know what I mean? As far as I knew, Devin said that he was on board with it. I talked to Tio's dad, both online and then personally, and he said that he's with making it happen. So we just need, I guess, the powers to be and the fans and everybody to get behind it and push it, and hopefully it can happen. I think he came out with some numbers that that he said that he had to make, which I don't tend to listen to a lot of things that the fighters will say, you know, publicly. You know what I mean? I'll kind of listen to what the attorneys and you know what I mean, what the other promoters and networks are saying, that what's really happening. So I remain optimistic about the fight happening.
Yes, sir. I mean, we all are. We want to see the fight, and we want to see it in 2021, not in 2026, though. So you guys are
Yeah,
talking,
well, yeah,
you know,
that's a joke, man. That was just like a Thanksgiving Day joke, for the families to have fun and laugh, and we definitely got to make that fight, happen way before then, and you know,
I
um,
know you're trying to be optimistic, Bill,
yeah,
but
but Devin
I'm
is more
quoting.
than qualified. He's
Yeah,
more
I'm
than
quoting
qualified.
him though. Yeah, I'm quoting him though. He's saying that he ain't fighting Devin till 3 to 5 years from now. Like this is what Tio said, and he sounds sincere. Like it didn't sound like he was, you know, telling a joke to give us all a laugh. He sounded more sincere than ever when it came to Devin Haney. For some reason, like I said, he's welcoming all comers except of Devin Haney. He seemed to push that fight out, half a decade from now. So if you guys are talking, obviously Devin talked to Tio. They had a mutual agreement of some sort to fight sometime soon. And obviously now Tio, like I said, he did a U-turn. He did an upside down flip when it came to his comments. And he pretty much saying, listen, I'm fighting Devin a half a decade from now, not when he won it. Devin said he won it now, not he won it now and later. Tio said he won it down the line. So what I'm trying to understand is if Tio is agreeing to fight Devin sometime, soon in the near future, why all of a sudden now he claiming that it's going to happen a half a decade from now? Devin has to build his name for a half a decade to earn a shot with him.
Like I said, that's Tio is one fighter in the equation. I don't think that he has a half a decade of names that are going to be more qualified than Devin. You know what I mean? But being that he's beat Lomachenko, I mean, he's entitled because he has the three belts. He's entitled to, move in a way that it'll appear that he's trying to make a big fight happen in the Cambosos fight, down in Australia. But we know that the biggest fight is here in America with him and Devin Haney. And if that doesn't happen, then obviously, we have the Javante Davis and Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell winner that we're looking forward to, and or if not, we'll go up to 140, 147, wherever we got to go to get that challenge. It is just that's just the way that it is. But locking
Yes.
up these little guys at 135, you know what I mean, has been that was part of Devin's beginning journey, in this thing, you know. So we'll just see what happens from here.
Yes, sir. We all big Teofimo Lopez fans, though, and his dream is to become undisputed. And obviously, ironically enough, Devin Haney nickname is the Dream, and look at Tio nickname is the Takeover. However, for him to take over, he have to fight Devin Haney in order to be undisputed because Devin Haney has the last missing piece of the puzzle. For the moment, Teofimo Lopez, he's not taking over, he's taking parts. So is he just gonna take parts and take over later, 5 years from now? What's your thoughts on that? The fight. Do you think that when do you see that fight happen realistically? When do you see Teofimo Lopez living up to his own nickname, which is the takeover?
Only way it's got to happen is the takeover. You know what I mean? Got to face the dream. And that's the way that thing goes, man. It's all the makings for a big event. and I take away nothing from the Lopez family, who did an excellent job. Tio Senior has did a tremendous job with his son. He's conquered the boxing world, took him by storm. He told him what he was going to do. He set out to do it, and he did it. And I can't do nothing but give him respect and props. But now it's time to step up to Devin Haney, and let's get this thing on, man. It just to me, it just gives me goosebumps, man. Just thinking about it, just T.O. and Devin, in 2021. But like I said, man, if he doesn't want to get it on, man, I get just as squeamy and queasy about those other fights now. It's just a great time to be part of the Devin Haney team.
Yeah, so if it doesn't happen in 2021, then uh, is it like, Devin Haney came out recently and said that Teofimo is just blowing smoke to brainwash the fans with all this email talk because he was the one that petitioned for the WBC French fry title through email. So if the fight doesn't happen, was Teo just blowing smoke because he
Well,
recognized the talent Devin is?
well, Tio has some really good people, you know what I mean, Hall of Famers that handle his business, you know what I mean, and they do a lot of emailing and stuff over there, So we let the we let the business be handled, let the fighters get in the ring and do their thing, you know what I mean, and Devin is ready to go. I mean, we've said that, time after time. Our name is in the hat. That's one of the reasons why Devin is the champion that he is. That's one of the reasons why he gets paid what he gets paid, because his name is in the hat for everybody, and not just tomorrow, not next week, not 5 years, right now.
Yeah.
You got
So
all roads in the lightweight division run through Devin Haney.
yes, sir. And obviously, just to make it clear, a lot of people try to act like Devin Haney is not a big name when he's making millions per fight. He was a main event, his last fight, in which he carried the card on his own. He's the youngest champion in the world, the richest youngest champion in the world, and
Mhm.
also the youngest promoter in the world. I
Mhm.
mean, and on Dante's Boxing Nation, Devin, he does pads and he gets like a million views. He argues with a fighter or a trainer, he gets a million views. So we already know that Devin brings everything to the table.
Oh,
However, what he
absolutely.
also brings to the table is high risk. He brings a high risk that a lot of fighters feel like his skill level is possibly too much.
Well, fortunately for Devin, he's a hell of a talent. He brings God-given speed and footwork and reflexes. You know what I mean? But not only does he just have that, he has a tremendous team at DHP that do a wonderful job. They do a wonderful job, at orchestrating his career, getting him the fights he needs, and being in the position he needs to be as a boss. Um, Not only does he also have that, he has a great network and partnership and Matchroom and DAZN, who who are into making the best and biggest fights happen for him as well. So it's just like I said, it's a great time to be, with Team Devin Haney.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, obviously, a fighter that fought last week uh, was Fortuna. He had a great performance. He looked impressive. I don't know if you had a
Oh
chance to
yeah,
see the
oh
fight.
yeah. I watch all the lightweight division. Shout out to Fortuna and what he's doing. I think he made a quick night of the kid that he had fought. Big tall kid. I think from Mexico. I can't remember. Lazado or something, was it something like that?
Lovato. I think it was Lovato.
Lazado. Lovato. Okay, yeah, yeah. So what I mean, good. He did a great job. You know what I mean, and we've always watched Fortuna. Fortuna did great against Robert Eastern, and what I mean, he had a couple good fights. So we don't take Javier Fortuna lightly in any shape, form, or fashion. We've been looking forward to fighting him on several different occasions that it didn't work out. So if he's the next guy, you know what I mean. Please, by all means, suit him up and get him ready.
Yeah. So if Tio fights, um, his mandatory, obviously, if you guys don't have no other name or any option, other than Fortuna? If Fortuna is willing to step up to the plate, is it safe to say you guys, willing to make that fight next?
I mean, we've seen all these guys coming up, you know what I mean? And, they didn't give us the shots that we're going to be different, you know what I mean? And we knew that. We said it was something always different about us, coming up through this shit. So, I mean, anybody can get it. It's Devin Haney versus everybody. It was that when we started, and it's still that.
Yes, sir. But do you see Fortuna wanting to fight Devin next now? Because he
We
had an
hope he do.
opportunity in
We
the
hope he
past to
do.
fight Devin, but he didn't.
Yeah, well, we hope he do. You know what I'm saying? It's hard as shit finding Devin an opponent. You know what I mean? So anybody that steps up or they talk shit or they say that they're gonna fight him, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I give them props. You know what I mean? The other guys that's waiting for us to leave the weight class, you know what I mean? I don't. I think different of those guys in terms of the guys that do stand up and raise their hand. And if Javier Fortuna wants it, and the WBC approves it and orders him as the next opponent, shit, then we definitely with it.
Yeah. Obviously, Fortuna was supposed to fight Linares, but Linares tested positive for COVID. Now,
Yeah.
so you think you'll see?
Prayers out to Linares, who's a a good guy too, man. A friend of ours out of Las Vegas. Prayers out to him and his family too. That he gets better, or
Yes,
hopefully
sir.
that
Yes,
he is
sir.
better.
Yeah, inshallah, he is better. But obviously, Linares, hopefully Fortuna. I mean, you don't see Fortuna, choosing Linares on top of Devin because Devin is the champion, right? But he did it in the past. So do you see him going with Linares again, or you think he's gonna, you know, go for the main event, the one with the belt, Devin Haney?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just like with Ryan and Luke and all that, why Ryan is fighting for an interim title against Luke Campbell and not fighting Devin Haney for the world title is beyond my belief. So, I mean? A lot of strange shit has happened, in boxing. So we just look forward to the opportunity of getting in there, in the next, 120 days or something like that, and staying sharp, God permitting that this, the pandemic, or just this whole COVID thing kind of loosens up, or just I don't know if it'll loosen up in 4 months. I don't want to be over optimistic about it, but in God's speed, that things are all right. We want to get back in the ring as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, just to touch on all bases, obviously we got the Fortuna covered. I want to get the last question on Tio. Uh, Obviously, he has a mandatory coming up with Composis. Seems like the fight
What's
he
his
wants
name?
next. I think it's Composis. I'll
Man,
probably
what's his
pronounce
name,
it
man? Hold on. What's his name? You don't know his
wrong.
name. All right, come on.
So
George Cambosis. George
yeah, yes, sir.
Cambosis.
George
Who's
Composis. So obviously, the
who's
Teofimo. It seemed like that's the fight he want next, but it's not because of the mandatory is due because obviously undisputed trumps any mandatory. Tio want to fight. Is Tio want to fight Combosis because that's the fight he wants, or because he have to? Because at the end of
that's
the
the
day,
fight?
doesn't,
That's the fight.
doesn't
That's the fight.
undisputed
That's the
Trump?
easy question.
Yeah,
That's an easy question.
doesn't undisputed Trump a mandatory?
Absolutely. That's an easy question. If at if Tio wanted to fight Devin, he could fight Devin next. He can definitely pick versus the mandatory versus a unification fight of undisputed. Being undisputed, a total unification fight of all the belts could happen if Tio wanted to make it happen.
Yes, sir. So what's your take on, last time, what's your take on Tio claiming or, he stayed trying to convince the fans that he's the undisputed champion. Um, why he's steady doing that?
I don't know. I can't really dive into his mind or his psyche to think why he's doing it. Ultimately, my first guess would be that he really believes that he's confusing some people. So yeah, I think that's what it would be. And then pretty much Tio and both him and his dad have a competitive side against him that they know that they're not true undisputed champions with the top ranked belt. So, maybe I'm like I said, being optimistic is that the money will come to the table. The fans will bring. The fans will rally around it. The networks will get behind it, and it'll be a fight for the ages.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope that's the case, not the other way around, because obviously Top Rank got the business structure to NBF. But obviously, last but not least, I
No, I
gotta
think
get you.
they got and shout out to Shakur who'll be coming up this weekend. I think is he fighting this weekend, right? I know he's in town. I just
No, no,
came
no.
back.
Mike Tyson fighting this weekend.
Huh?
Shakur is fighting December 12th. I
Oh, he's
think
fighting
he's fighting.
December 12th. He's just in town. He's just in town for it. So, like, we got some good, friends and, family that's over there at Top Rank that we constantly pull for, so I try not to, bash them as a company, you know what I mean? But and just kind of look at it realistic as, in business, um, people are going to want to be more favorable to those that they're doing business with, and not only that they're doing business with, that it's just advantageous business for them. So we will, as long as we're on the opposite side, be a thorn in Top Rank, and all the other companies, and we kind of enjoy being that.
Yes, sir. Obviously, Top Rank. There's no shame in their game. They're looking out for their fighters. With that being said, obviously this week Mike Tyson is fighting against Roy Jones. Now, a week ago, or not a week ago, excuse me, during the press conference, Mike Tyson said that he's looking to disable Roy Jones come fight night. Now, the rules came out claiming that neither fighter could go for the knockout. What's your take on that? That neither fighter
I'm
could go
more
for the knockout? Is that possible? Like as a
well.
for a fight?
Knowing Mike and knowing Roy personally, I think once they get up in the ring, all that rules and all that other shit then went out the window. Unless we dive into it more and it's some kind of clauses about the money and shit like that. Well, then if that's the case, then it's no more than WWF or WWE or whatever it is. So, I would hope that they just got up after hearing. I would hope that they got up in there and just, you know what I mean, just the rules, just abandoned all the rules and got a little bit competitive. But at the same time, they're older guys, you know what I mean, who've been afforded the opportunity to put on an exhibition, and we shouldn't want more out of out of it than they're willing to give, than they're willing to put up. If that's what we're going to get, then we should just be satisfied with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I would love for them to go toe to toe and all that, but
Yeah, yeah.
safety always come first.
Yeah, yeah,
Health.
exactly. So I don't want to be like, I want them to just bash their heads in. I know both of them, and that wouldn't be good for either one of them. Both of them have families, so I'm cool with however it goes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As much as I'm looking forward for the fight, the fact that I heard the news, I'm not really that upset because I was really scared for Roy. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, no, there's more rules that came out. There's no judges, uh, no winner announced. What's your take on that? They kind of changing the rules last minute. There's no judges, no winners.
Well,
What's
ultimately,
change?
it's a pay-per-view extravaganza. You know what I mean? Mike has quoted as I think he's had a billion impressions or a billion hits, since he's been announcing the fight. And clearly, I think he has more eyeballs on his fight, his exhibition, than a lot of fighters. I mean, or if not the whole entire boxing community. Um, you know, fighter individual by individual. I think Mike's has more eyeballs on his fight than any of them right now. So um, it's just I guess one more feather in the hat of the boxing community to have a prestigious event being put on with so much focus being on it, and it being our sport for once, that it's just two legendary fighters getting paid to put on an exhibition. I can only just look forward and hope and pray that Devin will have that kind of career and that kind of prestige that, what I mean, in his later years he could command something so lucrative and so safe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, what's the reaction to the fight pre-sales outselling previous fights for the last decade?
Oh,
Mike Tyson versus Jones on pay-per-view.
wow. It's
You know,
like I said, it's one more feather in the hat of the boxing community. You know what I mean? Because it could be another sport, but you know why we deserve it. You know, the boxing community deserves that. You know, our champion to be respected and be paid and be be treated as such. So I think a shout out to the Tyson, the whole Tyson family. You know, for structuring and getting together and structuring an event and rallying behind Mike once again, and then giving Roy a call and doing great business. And that's what this thing is all about. He dropped a jewel on Tank, and he told Tank that that's what fighters should be doing. And I reiterated to you earlier in the interview that that's one of the things that I admired about Devin and Teofimo to be doing. Of course, I'm Devin's manager, but as a father, to see your son, evolve as just being a fighter to being a businessman and have the acumen to do the things that Mike dropped the jewels on, and then just to see him, so I mean, it's just like I said, I can't say it enough. It's just a great time to be involved with Team Haney.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was a great answer. Now, we do have a super chat. Lopez really think he undisputed. Now, based on that comment, obviously, you talked about what Mike Tyson said, and Roy Jones also said that there's nothing wrong with having too many belts in the sport of boxing, as long when you become a champion, you want to collect all the belts. If you don't collect all the belts, then you truly don't believe you the best. That's what Roy Jones said, right? Now, Tio, when he beat Lomachenko, he said he want to change the wave in the sport of boxing. He tired of this. Oh, I'm gonna build this fight up. He said, I want to make the fights now. Like I want to make the big fights now. So we were all loving it. We thought, Tio was gonna change the landscape in the sport of boxing. However, when it came to collecting that last missing piece of the puzzle, he went from the takeover to taking parts. He start claiming he undisputed when he's a unified, So when Tio says is the takeover, is it take over the city, not the world?
Or is it undisputed?
You know. So at the end of the day, we already know what time it is. Tio, like I said, it's a bad look on his behalf because he's breaking our hearts. Uh, you know. So with that being said, when can we expect Devin Haney back in the ring? Obviously, the champ
well,
had a birthday, so happy late birthday to the champ. When can we see Devin back in the ring?
Devin, the kind of night that Devin had, we look to get him back in there as soon as possible, keep him sharp, and keep him ready. So he don't got to get ready. That's all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With that being said, Bills, always a pleasure talking with you. You always
Thank you,
come with that
brother.
fire. And I truly appreciate you coming to Split Decision yet again.
Knocked it down in 60 minutes. You dig?
Yes, sir.
Devin Haney, the best in the world. WBC lightweight champion, youngest to do it since Mike Tyson. Be sure to check us out at Real Devin Haney on Instagram and Twitter, and you can get me at BH_the_great.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna also provide the links in the comment section below. So make sure you follow Bill and Devin, the youngest champion in the world and the CEO of Devin Haney Promotion.
Youngest since Mike Tyson. Youngest since
Bill.
Mike Tyson in the last 26 years.
And you could also add to that the most feared since Mike Tyson, because like I said, he got the A-class boogie status, he got that fearsome status because he's always last on that wish list. And you know what I tell him, Bill. I don't hype up Devin.
That's
They
right.
hype up Devin. The fighters hype up Devin because
That's right.
they never mention his name. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. We already know what time it
He
is.
the youngest. Hey, he the youngest, and we ain't going nowhere. So you dig what I'm saying? Just get used to it, brother.
Yes,
Have a
sir.
good night, man. Peace, blessings on top of blessings, man. Until we talk again, man.
All right, talk to you,
Stay
Bill.
strong. All right.
So, like I said before, Thank you to the Bill Haney family. Always a pleasure having them on the show. If anybody want to call in, if Teofimo Senior want to call in, I would love to have him on the studio. If anybody want to call in, like I said, this is the show of the people. This is what they think about you, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Teofimo fans are heartbroken right now. Haney versus Taylor ? If the little guys don't want the smoke ? Yeah, I know Devin would love to fight, but Taylor, he has his eyes on Crawford before maybe Crawford leaves Top Rank. Also, you got to factor in that's what Teofimo wants. He wants that Taylor fight. In order to fight for undisputed, if Taylor is victorious against a guy like Ramirez, we already know he should be favored to, but anything can happen in the sport of boxing. I truly believe Taylor will come out victorious, but he will be truly undisputed. Teofimo Lopez, he's a unified. It's great, being a unified champion is great, but he's not undisputed. I know it, he know it, the world know it, the boxing books know it. Only the casual fans are confused. Other than that, we know what time it is. So in order for Teo to make history, he has to fight Devin Haney in order to complete his dream of becoming an undisputed champion at 135, then move up to 140 and fight Taylor in order to become a back-to-back undisputed champion. This is what Teo said. I'm just quoting him. I'm holding him to his own standards because I'm a big fan of Teo. Like I told you guys before, when he first beat Lomachenko, I truly felt like, man, this is the Duran of our time. And he already reminded me of Prince too. And you already know how I feel about Prince Nassim Hamed. That's the fighter that got me into the sport. So, I mean, I was just overexcited when it came to Teo. And he was talking the talk, and I was expecting him to walk the walk. You can't talk an MJ game, however, don't show up at the court, because you best believe Devin Haney, he's in the court trying to be the Kobe in the sport of boxing. That's what he's projected to be. And that's what he's trying to prove. So we just expect the same thing from Teo. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Devin would love this Taylor fight. But I think if Devin Haney can't even get Teofimo, how is he going to get Taylor when Taylor is with Top Rank, when Teo is with Top Rank? So you already know what the recipe is going to be, is them two fighting each other. Now, I still think Teo versus Taylor is a hell of a fight. I think it's a tough fight for Teo. I think it's a huge gamble for Teo because Taylor could possibly beat Teo. Taylor is a pound-for-pound fighter. I have him on my top 10 pound-for-pound. I also have Teo on my top 5 pound-for-pound. So it's a dangerous fight for Teo. Don't get me wrong. That's why I cannot comprehend why will Teo Lopez move up to 140 to fight this dangerous fighter that's not a huge name. Like, I know you guys know that Josh Taylor is a great fighter, but he's not a great name. Devin Haney is more popular than Taylor. Every fighter at lightweight is more popular than Taylor. Ryan, Tank, Teo, I mean, you name it. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why is, I don't know what Teo sees in Taylor in which he feel like, hey, I'm going to just fight him and beat him and become undisputed twice. That's a dangerous fight, man. It possibly more dangerous than a Lomachenko fight at 140 because he's a big 140 pounder with skill and punching power. He could fight in the inside and in the outside. So I think that's a dangerous fight. I mean, you could never count out. You could never count off Teo. However, you better off fighting Tank and make all the money in the world. You better off fighting Devin Haney for all marvels to become undisputed yourself. However, that tells you the whole story. That tells you the bigger picture. Teo views Devin Haney as one of the three-headed goats of his time. That's how he feels about Devin Haney. Because if he felt any different, he would have fought him next. But the fact that he's looking to fight him a half a decade from now. Man, when Teo said that, I started bugging. I was like, a half a decade? The fans, the boxing world, all the hardcore boxing fans, they sick and tired of building up fights. And when Teo came out and said, forget the old era of fights, getting built up. Forget what top rank motto is of building up fights like they did with Pacquiao against Floyd Mayweather. They didn't want to make the Floyd Mayweather fight against Pacquiao. They try to block that fight until, the last moment. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, forget that. It's a new era. We're going to fight each other in due time. So I'm like, man, shit. If Devin Haney fight Teofimo next, that could change the landscape in the sport of boxing, because that will have fighters like Crawford and Errol Spence and Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Like, they're going to look at themselves like, man, Eddie Hearn going to look at himself like, man, I'm over here blocking this Anthony Joshua fight with Deontay Wilder, not making it happen. Meanwhile, Teo just fought Devin, and they both youngest in the game for undisputed. You know what I'm saying? That would have had changed the landscape in the sport of boxing, like I said before. But the only problem was Teo did not live up to what he was saying about Devin, because of the obvious reason he views Devin as one of his ultimate rivals. So if that's the case, quit calling the man the email champion when you're the one that's petitioning for email titles or franchise titles through email. Teo is complaining about receiving the WBC franchise belt in a suitcase that's broken. I'm like, man, I'm surprised it didn't come in a lunchbox with some French fries in it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, if Teo really feels like his father feels, that Devin is his toughest rival, one of his biggest fight of his career, that's what Teo Sr. said, then give Devin Haney his credit. I don't think anybody would have criticized Teo Lopez if he said, listen, I will fight Devin Haney, just not now, because it's too much of a risk. He needs to build his name, because he is possibly my toughest fight. I'm willing to fight him down the line once we both at our peak. That's what Teo said, right? I think everybody will have respected him. I think Devin Haney wouldn't have applied this much pressure to fighting him next if that was the case. Because Devin feels like, hey, I'm going to fight him now and later. So if you don't want it now, okay, fine, I'm going to fight you later. But because Teo, he painted the narrative that, hey, I'm willing to fight you now. Devin is like, okay, I'm with the smoke. Devin should have had the same nickname as Bud. Devin's nickname should have been the Smoke. Like I said before, the dream is an understatement for Devin. It should have been the Nightmare is the nickname for Devin, because it seemed like he's a nightmare for a lot of these fighters. That's why they have him last on their wish list. Now, I don't doubt Teo will fight Devin Haney eventually, but like I said, right now, we want to see the fight for all marvels, for undisputed. It makes no sense at all for Teo to become unified, to be one belt removed from becoming undisputed, and follow Canelo blueprint by just moving up a division when you're in the hottest division right now. Teo said the 135-pound division is the hottest division right now. This is not what I said. This is what he said. So I could care less about he said, she said, he said, she. The fighters, Teo said this is the hottest division. Teo said he want to be undisputed. Teo said he want to fight Devin Haney next if Devin won it. And now, like I said before, he did an upside down flip. He made a U-turn when it came to his statements. That's why the fans are pretty much kind of like disappointed with all this, politics in the sport of boxing. But I hope I didn't miss a super chat. Hold on. So give me a second. I'm gonna open up the phone lines real quick. I want you guys to call in. So you guys could go ahead and call in. The number is in the link below, so you guys free to call in. Hello.
Kieran.
I gotta fix this real quick.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
How you doing, AKHi? Who this is and where you calling from? Hello?
Hey, yeah, what's going on, man?
Yeah, can you hear me?
The volume kind of low. I can hear you through the TV, but not through the phone.
The volume on the phone is low? How about now?
Okay, there we go. There we go.
All right, so talk to me. So what's going on?
What's going on, man? My name is Demetrius. I was watching a podcast for a couple weeks now. I just got hit to it not too long.
I appreciate it, my man. So you want to touch on the Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney, saga, or you got something else in mind?
Yeah. I was just about to call him about that because I watched the Loma fight, and after the fight, I remember he was all talking about, yeah, anybody can get it. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. He was all on Twitter talking about the reason why Floyd was great was young Floyd. Because, a lot of people like to say Floyd tried to duck people, but when he was younger, nobody was saying that. It was only till he got to like 35, 38, and people were just kind of oh, Floyd this, Floyd that. And he was reminding people about how he didn't really duck anybody. Only people can probably say is Manny. I don't really buy into that. I think he was just trying to prepare a fight. So, the whole controversy with Manny and the whole HGH and all that. But yeah, I think Tio is running for good reason. I don't know if Bob Arum is in his ear or if it's just him running, or he definitely running though, breaking the sweat running. So,
Yeah, so let's talk about it. You brought up a great point, because Tessitore during the Lomachenko versus Lomachenko fight, he said, yeah, this is the boxing of boxing, not the business of boxing, like Mayweather era, trying to take shots at Floyd. And Tio, after the fight, he brought up the fact that everybody want to be Money Mayweather, but they don't want to go through that pretty boy stage. So let's talk about both stages real quick, right? Because pretty boy Floyd Mayweather, for example, if we talk about pretty boy, it's ironic to me that, Tessitore would say such a thing, knowing that pretty boy was the boogeyman. Pretty boy had everybody shook. Mind you, Floyd Mayweather, when he was pretty boy, he was making millions. He was making $5 million fight, $10 million a fight, even $12 million fight. He was selling like 300, 400, 500 on pay-per-view, and he was still being ducked as that huge big star. Like, he was the closest thing to a superstar, but he was still being avoided, right? He was welcoming all comers. He was calling out everybody. But ironically, though, when you see the situation with Tio, he said he came out, he actually pointed out that statement, and now he don't want to go through that pretty boy stage himself. Now he want to take that shortcut. Now he want to listen to old media, because like old media, they will bash Floyd Mayweather all day. They will say Floyd Mayweather is a businessman when he wasn't, but they will turn around and tell Tio to be a businessman. Like Max Kellerman, Max Hypocrisy, he will tell Tio, you don't have to fight. He will tell Tio, you don't have to fight Devin Haney. You're the undisputed champion. He will falsely advertise Teofimo Lopez on national television. You know what I'm saying? Just to show you their biased agenda. If Max Kellerman truly felt like Floyd Mayweather is a businessman, and he always criticized him for being a businessman, why are you telling Tio to be a businessman? Why don't you tell Tio to be a true fighter, a real fighter, and become undisputed like Roy Jones, when he said, if you truly feel like you're the best, you must collect all the belts. If you don't, then you're really not the best. You see that the contradiction right there? And just to prove Floyd Mayweather was that Roy Jones of his time, pretty boy, we already know he was the boogeyman. It wasn't who is Floyd Mayweather willing to fight next. The question was, who is willing to fight Floyd Mayweather next? You know what I'm saying? So if we talk about Money Mayweather, though, we could talk about it all day. Like I said before, who avoided who in their prime? Floyd Mayweather did double the numbers on pay-per-view that Pacquiao did against Oscar De La Hoya and Ricky Hatton. And Floyd Mayweather sent him a 50-50 offer. He didn't say, I'm the A side. He didn't say, I'm going to take 60-49. He sent him a 50-50 offer. He sent him a 50-50 split when it came to pay-per-view revenue and a $50 million guarantee, I believe. Guess what Pacquiao did? He turned it down.
Everybody tried to push it on Floyd like he was scared or something.
Yeah, so if Pacquiao turned down, do random, yeah, they were telling, this is how crazy is the double standards. They wanted Floyd Mayweather to fight Manny Pacquiao if he's on something. Like if Pacquiao, they told Floyd, okay, if you don't want to take random style drug testing, it is what it is. You know, fight him even if he's on something. They were telling them basically, if Pacquiao's on steroids, we don't care. You should still fight him. You're scared. Just to show you the double standards that exist in the sport of boxing. When Pacquiao clearly avoided the fight, and he continued to avoid the fight and the drug test till 2015. Pacquiao went from saying, look, man, I'm willing to fight Floyd Mayweather as long, 30 days before the fight. I don't want to do any random drug testing. Then he was like, you know what? How about 14 days before the fight? Then they sent Floyd Mayweather team a letter saying, if I fail a drug test, can you guys keep it on the hush hush till after the fight? Like what? What you hear these type of statements? I remember that too. Yeah, you hear it's crazy statements. Pretty much nearly like Pacquiao's pleading guilty nearly, and they still blame Floyd Mayweather for that fight not happening in 2009 or during their prime when it was Pacquiao who avoided the fight. But I'm just showing you that Floyd Mayweather, he fought Canelo Alvarez, Lomachenko version of Teo, when Floyd Mayweather was 37 years old. He beat him every single round. He fought all these fighters coming off their biggest win, from Ortiz beating an undefeated Berto, from Canelo Alvarez beating an undefeated Trout, from Cotto avenging himself against the Cheeto Margarito when he loaded up his gloves. All these big mega fights Floyd Mayweather fought, including Sugar Shane Mosley knocking out Margarito at the time. And they still claim Floyd Mayweather, he cherry picking. He being a businessman when he fought everybody. But ironically, these same people claiming, exactly. But like I said, my last point,
wanted him to lose so bad that they just try to find like any fight that they think will be competitive. They would just try to hurry up and get it and just root so hard against them until it was like, man, all we got left now is Pacquiao. I was like, this is our last chance to see Floyd lose.
Yes,
sir. So they just wanted it to happen. Like,
yes, sir. We got we got a super chat. I'm about to get back with you with that. Mr. Mechanical, I appreciate the super chat. Max Kellerman, no, it's not Max Kellerman, it's Max Hypocrisy Kellerman. The Maximum Hypocrisy on ESPN, and Tim, we called him Coon Bradley. ESPN Puppets. Yeah, but all I'm going to say to that is that, listen, you got to give credit where credit is due. If you're going to criticize Floyd Mayweather, you should criticize every single fighter in the game, if I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Because, Max will criticize Floyd Mayweather, but turn around and tell Teo to cherry pick. He will tell Teo to be a businessman. Right. That's contradicting yourself as a journalist, as an expert in the sport. But we could clearly see their biased agenda. If you could go back and watch Floyd Mayweather interviews, you remember Floyd Mayweather interviews? I think his name was Brian Kinney or something like that. Brian Kinney. Yeah, I watched that interview at least like once or twice every week. All their interviews, Brian Kinney will always push Floyd Mayweather buttons. He will tell him, fight Baldomir. Fight this guy. Fight Ricky Hatton. Fight this guy. Floyd Mayweather did every single thing Brian Kinney accused them of not doing, right? And he still didn't get his credit. Meanwhile, you don't see the same pressure. You don't see the same pressure applied on Teo when it comes to Max Kellerman. Muhammad Ali, he had, I think his name Howard Stewart, something like that. I mean, I got the name. I can't remember the name.
Howard Cosell.
Howard Cosell. You see, Ali had his Highward co-sale. You see Floyd Mayweather had his Brian Custer, I think his name. Oh no, Brian Kinney. Excuse me. He had his Brian Kinney,
Yeah.
but Tio got his Max Hypocrisy Kellerman. We don't see Max applying pressure on Tio, but that's just to prove the double standards on the media side.
ESPN fight. Anybody that's on Top Rank, you know they're gonna make excuses for it. Like,
yeah, but Tio, but you remember Floyd Mayweather at the time was a HBO fighter, and Brian Kinney or Brian I can't remember his name. I keep saying the referee name.
Yeah, I thought you meant you talking about Tio. You talking about just in general.
Yeah, it's general. In general, you see, yeah, I know Tio. He's with Top Rank, and that's why obviously they're trying to babysit him. But like I said, Floyd Mayweather was with HBO, and at the time, Brian he worked for HBO and ESPN and stuff like that, and he always asked Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, he always asked Floyd Mayweather the tough questions, though. You know what I mean? But Tio, we're not asking them to, just ask Tio the right questions. Like I said before, they giving Tio a way out. They telling Tio, hey, you don't got to fight Devin Haney for undisputed. You don't got to do this. You don't got to fight Tank. You don't got to fight nobody. You can fight me. Right. That's pretty much what they told Tio. Yeah. So it's just a horrible look on their behalf. Yeah, but you could go ahead, get your take on all of that.
That was just basically my take too. He basically was like, finish my point. I'm like, they keep making all these different belts. Like I was in the chat when you said, I think you said it by accident, the French fries belt, but then I was like, nah, you need to keep saying that. That's exactly what it is. It's like fast food.
Listen,
it's like not really the belt. It's just something that makes you feel good in the moment. But it's like you really know deep down, he knows he's not undisputed. Like if you go to McDonald's, something that makes you good in the moment, but later on, you know me in the bathroom, like.
Yeah, they got him looking crazy. They got Tio looking crazy, trying to explain himself. You're looking frustrated, trying to explain himself when he's not even getting asked the tough questions. Let alone if someone put him in the spot, like, hey, you said this and you said that. These two statements contradict each other. I mean, I would like to see Tio response to that because, like I said before, when it comes to this French fries belt. Man, Tio knows just like I do that Lomachenko requested a French fries belt, which is a witness protection belt, in order to avoid Devin Haney. He bought that belt. You know, when you go to Walmart, like I said before, you go to Walmart to do what? Purchase a belt to keep your pants up. This is equivalent to that. The only difference is that this belt right here is a witness protection belt. So you could avoid the fighters on the coincidental list. That's why Top Rank got a motto, no BF, NBF.
Yep.
Bob Arum, he will write on the board, NBF every single time during the meetings. Do you know what that means? No black fighters. Avoid the black fighters. Mm-hmm. That, I mean, it's obvious, and I could play.
It really is a safety belt. It's like the seat belt. Like,
yes, sir. I got a super chat. Like, keep speaking the truth, facts, and logic over emotion. Yes, sir. Facts over emotion, like I said before. Tio keep claiming he trying to convince the world. Tio keep trying to convince the world he's undisputed. That's like Trump trying to convince the world he won the election. Man, we know.
Right, he finally gave up. Like, what was it?
Trump gave up. You talking about Tio gave up or Trump gave up? Who gave up?
No, Trump just gave up. But other than, I don't follow politics as much as I should, but I remember seeing either yesterday or the day before, it was like he finally relinquished something.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like now Tio looking like the Trump of the boxing world. I'm waiting till he give up too, trying to convince the fans that he's the undisputed champion. When the record books, when media websites have
that was wild too. Because I was watching it, they showed a picture next to him. I think it was they had him next to Bernard Hopkins and like some other people, Jermaine Taylor. They had his picture up there, just like forced it up there on the screen.
Yeah, false promotion though. False promotion because right after the fight, if you remember, right after the fight, if you remember, ESPN came out with their list of champions, and they had Devin Haney as the WBC champion and Tio as the WBA, IBF, and WBO champion, and or WBA. Right. Like they didn't have him as the WBC champion. So even ESPN recognized Devin Haney as the WBC champion.
Yeah, it's like ESPN is like, all right, we might do this for sure. We're not going to actually get
right.
Or the record books, like you can't decide between them.
If you go on any website, if you go to BoxRec, if you go to Wikipedia, any website, and just just Google. All you got to do is just Google who the lightweight champions, top rank, box rack. I mean, not top rank, box rack, any website, they have Teo as unified champion and they have Devin Haney as the WBC champion. So when Teo keeps saying that he's undisputed, like I said, he really sounds like the Trump of the boxing world, not wanting to accept that he's just a unified champion. Like Trump he does not want to accept that he lost the elections. Like Trump lost the elections,
right,
regardless of his opinion. Regardless of his opinion, he lost the elections. So, facts over opinions.
If he didn't come out right after the fight and was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this and that," it wouldn't have been as bad. But now it just looks way worse. It looks 3 times worse. Like right after you win, you just talking all this big talk, and now you just do the reverse. Like, that wasn't even that long ago.
Right, and remember, like I said, Tessitore kind of comparing Floyd Mayweather to Teo. Like I said, Teo, after he beat Lomachenko, he said none of these guys willing to fight me, and all these guys lined up to fight him. I mean, Ryan Garcia even called him out. Mikey Garcia even called him out. Right. But when Floyd Mayweather knocked out Corrales at the same age as Teo today, I didn't see nobody line up to fight Floyd. Matter of fact, they were running from Floyd.
Of course.
So it's like you can see the difference, like Floyd Mayweather was really the boogeyman. Teo right now, he thought he was going to be the boogeyman. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Like, as far as people, like everybody loves to talk on Twitter, but then it's like nobody's really trying to fight him. Everybody's trying to fight everybody else. Like, let's all fight each other, but then let's talk subliminals about Devin Haney and act like he's not on our level. Like, he's younger than all of you, and he's the champ. So I don't get how he's like, I don't know.
He made millions.
Like he's like over the hill. I think he was like 38 or something, and they act like he was,
If he was 38, they would have fought him. They only don't want to fight him because they don't. They kind of pretty much aware of his potential. They don't want him to. It's basically that Errol Spence thing. When Errol Spence was the boogeyman, Kell Brook gave him the opportunity, and he became a stepping stone. So they don't want to become a stepping stone to Devin Haney's career. You know what I mean? But with that being said, I appreciate talking with you, my brother.
Definitely appreciate you, bro. Peace and blessings to you.
Yes, sir. Always great talking with you. Call again, my brother. How you doing, Aki? Who this is and where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Aki? It's Kieran from Albany, New York.
New York, man. You already know, man. We both from the same city, including Teo. And man, I don't know, man. He making the city look bad. What you think?
Honestly, man, I've lost a lot of respect for Teo after he started disrespecting Deontay Wilder. But to be honest, I think Teofimo, he just doesn't want to be a real champion at the end of the day, man.
And that Deontay Wilder comment. Yeah, you could go ahead. I'll talk. I'll mention that point right after you.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. I just wanted to just say, like, after he made that Deontay Wilder insult, he never had like the confidence to like actually call out his contemporaries and try to be honest with his fans to say that he's just like the unified champion instead of calling himself like the undisputed, because I find that absolutely disrespectful that he tries to shadow out Devin Haney and he thinks he's so great, but it's like, dude, you've only had one good marquee fight, and that's Lomachenko. So either way, it's like you never really had that much tough competition. And I think that for him being so outspoken, he's just not understanding like where he's at on the totem pole of like the boxing political structure, right? And I think he's gonna put himself into that trap where Bob Arum's just going to make him look like a superstar, similar to Lomachenko in a way, but then eventually he's going to get fed to some guy that's going to take his spot one day.
Yeah, and like I said, all you got to do is just be honest with the fans. If you feel like, Devin is a tough fight and you don't want to fight him now, well, give Devin his credit. Say, hey, listen, this is one of my best rivals. It'd be silly for me to fight him right now. I'll fight him down the line. I don't think people would have got mad at him, but to trash talk Devin and say he an email champion, he this, he that, and then turn around and go elsewhere when you already promised the fans that you were going to fight Devin. But instead, he did an upside down flip and He did a 360 on the fans and went elsewhere. That's a bad look on his behalf. And when it comes to that Deontay Wilder comment, you know, he had an interview on Brian Custer interview. I mean, he had an interview with Brian Custer in which he said, you know, that I will tell Deontay Wilder he's a bitch to his face. But before I tell him he's a bitch, he said he's basically going to say, hey, the reason why I think you a bitch. He said, so on and so forth, do this, do that. And that's why you a bitch. And I'm like, man, you know you ain't gonna tell that to Deontay Wilder. Like, you know that's just all talk. You know? You know that ain't gonna happen. You know you're gonna see Deontay Wilder and you be like, man, you know I ain't mean that. That's just slipped out of my mouth. But I mean, obviously he can't backtrack now. But all I'm gonna say to that is he said that people took his words out of context because he was saying Deontay Wilder need to stop making excuses and he need to face reality and prove himself. Go to the gym and prove that you're one of the best heavyweights in the world. But what Teo doesn't realize, that's exactly what Wilder trying to do. Wilder, he stayed solid. He didn't make no excuses. He was trying to fight Tyson Fury in a trilogy match. It wasn't until Tyson Fury pulled out of the trilogy match, not honoring his rematch clause, in order to fight a nobody, Kabaili, whoever he is in the UK, instead of fighting 50 million plus against Deontay Wilder. That's why Deontay Wilder came out and exposed Tyson Fury for cheating, because he realized, hey, man, this man really don't have no cojones to fight me without cheating the third time since he got exposed for cheating by new media, right? So what Teo keeps saying, oh, Wilder need to stop making excuses. Wilder need to prove himself. That's exactly what Wilder trying to do. And Teo said on Brian Custer interview that, you know, Wilder need to fight Dillian White and guys like that. First of all, Wilder called out Dillian White on Brian Custer interview. Wilder called out Usyk and all these fighters. He said, if I can't get Tyson Fury in the ring, I'm willing to fight all these guys. But at the end of the day, it's ironic to me that Teo, he won't say Wilder need to fight Tyson Fury a third time, because that's supposedly the fight he's making excuses for. So Teo should say, well, Wilder needs to prove himself against Tyson Fury for the third time instead of making excuses. But like I said, like I know, I'm pretty sure he knows his homeboy Tyson Fury cheated. The reason why Teo have Tyson Fury back to this extent is because they homeboys. Obviously, Tyson Fury always gave him high praise and all that. But at the end of the day, or at least the night, regardless of how close you are to a particular fighter, if he cheated, you shouldn't stand next to a cheater. Only a cheater stands next to a cheater. So if you're going to back up a cheater, and that's a bad look on your behalf, because if you're a fighter that gets out of the mud, if you're a fighter that knows how it feels to get it from the bottom through blood, sweat, and tears, and all the above, if you're that type of a fighter, you will never back up or co-sign a fighter for cheating and try to have his back just to please the decafs and the casual fans, who hit up your comment section daily. Like I said, that's a huge bad look on Teo's behalf. That's why when he says things like Wilder need to do this, Wilder need to do that, Wilder need to stop making excuses. Again, Wilder is not making excuses. Wilder is pointing out that he got cheated. Getting cheated and making excuses are two different things. And Wilder is such a warrior. He want to get his revenge, not in the courtroom. He want to get his revenge with his own hands in the ring. So instead of Teo acknowledging that Deontay Wilder is a warrior, he calls him a bitch. But the only bitch there is karma, because karma is a bitch. And Wilder told Teo that be careful with what you say, because the same thing could happen to you. It's all fun and games until you the one getting cheated. Then you want the world to know, oh man, I got cheated. Oh man, this and that. Like I said, I didn't hear nobody call Cotto a bitch because he pointed out Margarito cheated. Everybody said Cotto was a madman when he was claiming that Margarito cheated. Now they want to say, oh, well, it's different because the commission is there. They learn from their mistake. The commission never learned from their mistake, because Rusto cheated, Margarito cheated, Maidana cheated. And just last week, Foster opponent Roman, he almost cheated. The commission proved his gloves that were tampered with, and it was Foster trainer Bobby Benton, who actually caught his tampered glove, and then they threw out both pairs. It wasn't the commission, it was the trainer, just to prove that there's holes in the system that fighters could, get away with. And we already know Tyson Fury cut off the camera in the dressing room. We already know people lie, women lie, your eyes don't lie. And we could see Tyson Fury bare knuckles, 1, 2, 3, 4 knuckles on his right glove. His left hand bending in 90 degrees. So if you can't explain the allegations, how you going to call Deontay Wilder the B word? Remember, it ain't just Wilder who exposed Tyson Fury. That's a Tyson Fury own sparring partner, Nicholas Asbury. He came out and pointed out that Tyson Fury was cheating against him in sparring. He tampered against him in sparring. And also, there's another witness, Coach Asbury. He said that he witnessed Tyson Fury cheat. He confirmed it, and he said that, when he confirmed Tyson Fury team about cheating, all they had to say in return was, well, listen, at the end of the day, or at least the night, we try to give Tyson Fury confidence. So apparently Tyson Fury confidence is all a persona, is all fake. He don't have no confidence because they try to give him confidence in training. But we know what time it is. They weren't trying to give him confidence. They were trying to get him used to having power so he could take advantage of having power in the ring. So he knows how it feels to having power, so he could take advantage of having power since he's a pillow-fisted fighter. And we already know what time it is. Tyson Fury practices sparring in order to execute fight night. And that's pretty much what he did. So apparently Nicholas Asbury lying. What does Nicholas Asbury benefits from lying? The coach is lying too. They have all of this on footage. So, like I said before, people lie, women lie, your eyes don't lie, and I'm sick and tired of these Tyson Fury fans because they really not Tyson Fury fans. They just Deontay Wilder haters. But yeah, let me read the super chat real quick before I get your take on all of that. Mr. Mechanical Tio was okay until lately just at another top ranked simp. But I think Tio just need to get it together. So yeah, what's your take on all of that?
Oh wow, that's a lot to unpack. Honestly, just imagine if Wilder had died from that second rematch with Fury, and his brother or anybody out of his team found out that Fury cheated. That would be like the biggest court case ever. But on top of that, that would be like the most racist piece of shit scandal that anybody would ever find out, that to be the best, you have to kill your toughest opponents, knowing that you're not as good as them, to make yourself look like you're the greatest in the world. And for a sport like boxing, that should be uncalled for, and that needs to be taken seriously because, people try to say so much crap about all these boxers, that they have beef against, but it's like they never realize that this is a sport where you can die with just one single punch. Boxing is not a sport that you just go out and play with like your friends
and have fun.
And with these fighters, to give that entertainment to you, the fan, that just makes it 10 times more difficult for people to understand that these fighters put their lives on the line, and for people to disrespect fighters that try to work hard to be the best, that's just absolutely disgusting, because Wilder, he proved to millions of people, if not billions, around the world that he is a fair, clean fighter. But for all these disrespectful haters that want to put him down, like as if he's not even that credible in the game, it's like, this guy has knocked out 41 out of his 42 opponents. Like, seriously, he's that good of a boxer, but yet you still disrespect him. Also, on top of that, if he had beat Fury in the second rematch, he would have broke Muhammad Ali's record for most title defenses, right? He would have had like 11. So, like, honestly, there had to have been some form of corruption, like, by the WBC to prevent that, because they just don't want guys like Deontay Wilder to be successful and actually make such a huge influence for the sport that people, love to see guys put their lives on the line, You know, when clearly, you know, they just don't give those people that same respect. So it's just like, you know, this needs to be taken seriously, and people like Fury need to be banned. You know, these guys need to get thrown in jail, and like, you know, there needs to be more accountability in boxing, because you don't hear this out of the NBA, you don't hear this out of the MLB, you don't hear this out of any other major sport but boxing. Why does boxing have to get like a pass when people do crazy stuff like this? That needs to be taken out. Like, honestly, at the end of the day, if you're going to watch like a sport and you want to make sure that you see people come out safe, then you have to have that same respect as a consumer to make sure that people are safe, not people getting killed. Yeah. Boxing is a sport. Well, yeah. So honestly, just have that same.
You brought up a lot of great points. Sorry about that. You know, you brought up a lot of great points that boxing is putting a black eye on the sport of boxing, pretty much, you know, because like you pointed out, you don't play boxing. You know, you could play any sport, but you don't play boxing. You have to have two cojones to hop in the ring. That's why I will always have tremendous respect to any fighter that step in the ring. That's why I'm highly disappointed in Teo. I'll be honest with you. I'm one of his biggest fans. But I'm really disappointed in Teo because I really didn't see this coming from him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the Lomachenko win. I don't know if it's the Tyson Fury love. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, this was an attempted murder. So it puts a black eye on the sport of boxing because, you know, obviously to be a champion, you could be a champion. I could be a champion. Anybody could be a champion. A champion is a person that works hard every day to become something, that deals with adversity and prevails. That's a champion. Everybody has a champion inside of them. So when a fighter is a world champion, he's a great role model because he defeated all odds. And more importantly, he challenged the biggest, he challenged himself, fought the best fighter in his division and beat him. So when Tyson Fury cheated against Deontay Wilder, that's what taught the world is that, hey, listen, you could be a champion by cheating. You could take a shortcut to success. You don't got to get it out of the mud. You could take steroids to lose weight. You could tamper with your gloves in order to get an advantage against your opponent. That's why in the sport of boxing, both fighters have to be on an even playing field because boxing is already dangerous enough. There's plenty of fighters that died in the ring. Muhammad Ali used to say, if you fight me, increase your insurance. Decades later, Deontay Wilder said, I'm trying to catch your body. He said it in a more vicious fashion, but the point is, they pretty much said the same thing. However, the WBC criticized Wilder for making those comments. But the WBC also defending Tyson Fury for cheating blind, claiming the commission was there when the same commission approved Foster opponent gloves Roman. So that's just to prove the corruption that's going on in the sport of boxing. And that's just the double standards that fighters on the coincidentalist deal with. That's why, like I said, I was highly disappointed to hear Teofimo Lopez, defend the cheater and call the warrior a bitch. The man that's trying to avenge his loss. Like I said, just like Teo, he had a foot injury against Lomachenko. Wilder had a bicep injury against Tyson Fury, but he didn't use that as an excuse. He didn't say, "Listen, I suffered a bicep injury right after the fight, right before the fight, a week before the fight." He didn't say that. It was his sparring partner that came out with that. But Wilder didn't make no excuses. All Wilder did is point out the truth. It's the absolute truth, the fact that he got cheated. So for Teo to go out of his way, and I know why he did it, because that's the only explanation to me, is that maybe he trying to cater in to all the decafs that flood his comment section. But you got to really be careful with that, because see, comments, all these trolls, they remain anonymous, so they could say whatever. What they say don't matter, because there's no face, there's no name attached to it. But when you say it, the most dangerous weapon in the world is a microphone and a camera. And now Teo looking crazy trying to explain himself, claiming that he gonna tell Wilder that he a bitch to his face. But
yeah, Deontay's gonna knock him out.
And it's crazy, because see, as a fighter, your hand is registered, so it's a weapon, right? So a fighter, if a fan calls a fighter the B word, the fighter can't even hit the fan really because obviously he gets sued. He is like you shot the man literally with the gun. So it's like a come up for a fan. That's why fighters have security guards all the time with them because they're trying to avoid bullshit, right? But when Wilder's a fighter and Teo a fighter, that gives Wilder a pass to do whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Wilder's going to do something to him, but all I'm saying is I know Teo won't call Wilder the B word to his face. I know, like I said, I just think he messed up, but he should man up to it instead of continuing to trying to justify some BS by claiming that Wilder needs to do something that he's already doing, which is trying to pursue the trilogy match with Tyson Fury, something that Teo didn't even point out, which is Tyson Fury trying to avoid the trilogy. Before Wilder came out and even exposed him, he came out and lied, said the rematch clause is expired when Fox and ESPN had a mutual agreement to push the fight on to January 21. But it's clear as day, he knew Wilder already was informed about Tyson Fury cheating. So he had no other way to cheat because his method of cheating got exposed. So he tried to avoid the trilogy because he do not want to get exposed in the ring. And like I said, you know, what goes around, come back around. And Tyson Fury cannot live with that going into the ring with Wilder, knowing he nearly killed him the first time they fought when he tampered with his left hand alone. That's why he had to up the scale and tamper with both hands. So, you know, with that being said, anything else you want to say before I let you go, my brother?
Yeah, I just want to say to hell with Tyson Fury. I hope Wilder does the same exact thing to him, but in a more fair, more brutal fashion. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I also try to do my part to share about the same amount of information for what I hear. And honestly, I think more boxing fans really need to come out and start exposing this dirty crap in boxing because like boxing is a very dangerous sport, and what the worst that comes out of it is just people like Fury cheating, and I just find that to be absolutely horrid and disrespectful to all the fighters that actually put in their hard work and talent to showcase their skills, to give the fans what we want. And I mean, if you really care about the sport, you should really be pushing for more
justice,
competitive innovations to clean up like all the bad crap that is in the sport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great talking with you, my brother. Yep. And make sure you call back, next time. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just correction, I don't know what I said because obviously I was kind of zoned out while I was talking. But Teo came out and said that Deontay Wilder need to stop acting like a bitch. He need to stop acting like a B. So just a correction right there. I'm not pretty sure. I'm not 100% what I said exactly. How you doing, AKHi? Who this is, and where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, what's going on, big man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Talk to me.
Oh no, this is Dave. I'm calling from Miami. And what you said previously to the other gentleman was very, it was very impactful because I believe that, Deontay Wilder was in fact cheated. For those out there who don't believe otherwise, the proof is in the pudding. We all know that boxing is a corrupt sport. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's why they call it a World Boxing Corruption Organization. It's so corrupt, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And for Teofimo Lopez to sit here and talk to another American fighter that way, that just shows that American fighters really don't have the support. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Errol Spence talked about it too, that, us Americans don't support each other. That how can you root for an outside fighter against your own? You will never see Anthony Joshua root against Kell Brook. You'll never see Anthony Joshua, regardless of how much he liked Errol Spence. He will never say, "Oh, Errol Spence, man, good luck, man. I hope you beat the crap out of my man, Kell Brook." You'll never see that because like and as Teo have been doing that a lot lately. You see him pulling for Kell Brook against Terrence Crawford when he knows Terrence personally. When Terrence always had high praise for Teo, you see. Teo also pulled for Tyson Fury. I know Tyson Fury in that incident, he always praised him. And I don't know what's his relationship with Kell Brook. But again, you see a lot of fighters from the United States root for fighters from the outside for against their own countrymen from their own soil. And it's one thing to do that. I give you a pass if you know a fighter personally. I will always give a fighter a pass. If he knows Tyson Fury personally more than he knows Deontay Wilder, so be it. If he knows Kell Brook more than he knows Terrence Crawford, so be it. But to know that Wilder cheated, a guy from your own country, against a fighter that's foreign, and you stand next to the fighter that cheated against a fighter from your own soil, nah, that's a huge bad look, man. I can't explain that. He got to explain himself on that part.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is the simple fact that I don't think a lot of people realize how impactful Deontay Wilder is as a boxer. You know what I'm saying? Even though he doesn't come with a conventional set of skills, boxing is able, you know what I'm saying, to access a person's essence. He's a champion for a reason. You know what I'm saying? You just don't play with boxing. And a lot of decafs think that you just play boxing. You don't play boxing. You either box or you don't. You know what I mean?
And you can't explain boxing. There's things that happen that you can't explain. Like a lot of people say, man, listen, Floyd Mayweather, he too technical. Oh, Floyd Mayweather, he too boring. And it's like, what? And this take me back to a statement, right? That I think, man, I forgot her name, but she was interviewing Abner Mares, and Abner Mares was asked about Devin Haney performance, and he said, Abner Mares said, yeah, Devin Haney performance, it wasn't all that. You know, it's that Floyd Mayweather style is boring. And then the lady that was interviewing Abner Mares, she acknowledged that. She was like, yeah, she felt comfortable enough. She said, yeah, I think this era is different. This era, unlike the past era, this era is about knockouts. And I'm like, what? So she was saying that basically it's all about excitement. And Abner Mares said, yeah, that's why a lot of people enjoy my fights, but they don't like Floyd Mayweather fights because they pretty much boring. The only reason he sold out or he did what he did and became the biggest star is because people want to see him lose, which is the biggest BS in the world. First of all, it is true Floyd Mayweather was hated. But guess who else was hated? Muhammad Ali was hated because they both on the coincidental list. Devin Haney will be hated. You best believe that. Deontay Wilder is hated because all these fighters share one common thing. They all from the coincidental list. So you got to peep game. If you go and watch, because Abner Mares said, you know, Floyd Mayweather, he, you know, people don't watch him. They only watch him to see him lose, but people come to see me because I'm an entertaining fighter. So let me ask you this question. Have you went back after Floyd Mayweather fight and watched Floyd Mayweather fight on YouTube?
Yes, I have watched Floyd Mayweather's fights on YouTube.
All right, and let me ask you the same question about Abner Mares. Have you watched Abner Mares and then was like, man, this was a great fight, and went back and watched Abner Mares on YouTube just like as much as you did to Floyd Mayweather?
Not particularly.
Exactly. Me personally, I watched Floyd Mayweather against all his fights, and I watched it a million times over on YouTube, studying him and just appreciating how sharp the man is. You know, just the fact like he was just so sharp, so crispy with his punches, so on and so forth, right? Abner Mares, I watched his fight live. I never watched it again on YouTube because it's like, it's basic to me. I don't see nothing special. When the reason why people love The Matrix, the reason why people love movies is because they want to see a guy duck bullets. They want to see a fighter that ducks punches like The Matrix ducks bullets. And that's what Floyd Mayweather did. We want to see skill. I want to see something that I can't do physically in order for me to be impressed. I don't want to see a street fight. Where I'm from, we saw that all the time. I want to see something I don't usually see. I want to see something I'm like, damn, man, that was, ooh, that right there. I don't know what he did, but that was sharp. And I go back and study it. That's why when you go to YouTube, the most viewed videos are Floyd Mayweather videos. Then like a Abner Mares, then like a Rios, a fighter that's go pack, you know, they go, toe to toe. They always talk about, oh, this fight is the most, the fight of the year, blah, blah, blah. But you don't see that same fight on YouTube gaining that many views. Obviously, Floyd Mayweather is more popular. You got to factor that in. But why is it Why are the highlights for defensive fighters viewed more than fighters that go toe to toe? Why? Why on YouTube the highlights for fighters when it comes to their defense, just ducking punches, Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, those get more than all these fighters that go toe to toe. We all know what time it is. They impressed by that. People are attracted to things they are impressed with. Nobody impressed with somebody that's gonna go toe to toe all night. Is exciting. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm not gonna watch it a million times over. You know what I'm saying? And when Floyd Mayweather fought, they always complained, "Oh, he too technical, he too good," instead of appreciating him. When we see now, everybody is appreciating the sweet science on YouTube. People lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And then when it comes to Deontay Wilder, all of a sudden, Deontay Wilder, he ain't just knocking out cats. Man, he giving them strokes. They catching a stroke while they getting dropped. You know what I mean? You like, man, you start praying like, inshallah, man, may Allah keep him nice and safe. and then they turn around and say, oh, you know, he can't box. He don't got no boxing skills. Hold on. You complain about Floyd Mayweather of being too good, being too technical. But with that same breath, you criticize Deontay Wilder for being offensively minded, going for the knockout. Something that you always asked Floyd Mayweather to do once he moved up to his 5th weight division, because he was a knockout puncher back in the lighter weight divisions. But when it comes to
when he was Pretty Boy Floyd,
but when he's Floyd Mayweather and fighting Canelo in the 5th weight division, a guy 20 years younger than him, a guy that's 20 pounds bigger than him, now you complaining about Floyd Mayweather not knocking guys out. But the guy that's knocking out cats 40 pounds bigger than him, like Deontay Wilder is, and he's doing it, he might not be the most technical fighter in the world, but he have skill to his madness because he's always delivering the knockout blow, even against the most skillful heavyweights like Luis Ortiz. And we saw plenty of examples. I mean, Luis Ortiz is more skillful than any fighter in the heavyweight division, pretty much. And Wilder knocked him out twice, and no one had fought, Luis Ortiz to this day. They want to talk about Luis Ortiz is 40 years old. Dylan White kept telling us, Luis Ortiz is 40 years old. Ironically enough, he got knocked out by a 40-year-old fighter, Povetkin. So you avoid a 40-year-old fighter, Luis Ortiz, to get knocked out by a 40-year-old fighter, Povetkin. Just to show you, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's not about Floyd Mayweather being too technical. It's not about Deontay Wilder being flawed when it comes to his defense and being too much of offensively minded. It's never enough with these guys. I don't give a damn who pops up. You see Gervonta Tank Davis. He have power. He have skill. He have speed. He have this. He have that. It's not about that, though. They don't like you anyway. They don't like you from the jump. Why? Because you from the coincidentalist. And it ain't a coincidence. That's why Tyson Fury, he's protected, because he got that complexion for the connection to get the ultimate protection. That's what they did to Lomachenko. They erased his loss. They gave him a witness protection belt. The same belt T.O. got right now. But like I said, if we're going to talk about excitement.
You're talking about that Burger King. You're talking about that Burger King championship belt?
That came in a lunchbox. That came in a lunchbox. Like, I'm telling you, T.O. complaining about the belt arriving, the French fries belt arriving in a bag, and he like, man, how y'all gonna send me something broken? Man, you best glad it didn't arrive in a open box of French fries from McDonald's, man. With that French fries belt, like I said, the real belt Devin Haney has, we all know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, statistics prove it. The history books prove it. Wikipedia, BoxRec, any boxing website, including ESPN, they all have Devin Haney as the WBC champion. They have Teofimo as unified champion, not undisputed. So if Teo if Teo wants to convince the world, just like Trump, the way he's trying to convince the world he won the election, well, so be it. Everybody entitled to their own opinion, but the truth will always separate.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And I've lost a lot of respect for Teofimo Lopez now, and saying that I think he had a spectacular performance
you know what I'm saying, against Lomachenko, because Lomachenko is like fucking hydrogen. He was already inflated anyway. So he already got exposed by Teofimo. But to go ahead and afterwards say that you're taking on all challengers, and you got Devin Haney, who has the one belt that you need to become the man, and then you start talking around and doing all this, and all of a sudden you want to go the other direction. I can't respect another man who does that. If you want to be the greatest, if you want to be the Ali, if you want to be the Smoking Joe, if you want to be the next Floyd Mayweather, you got to take on all challengers. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes, sir.
If you want to be a king, correct?
That's what you got to do. Like Roy said, if you the best, you must collect every belt. If you don't, then you truly don't feel like you the best. So I'm just saying that's what the GOAT said, exactly. Roy. You know what I mean? He fighting this week too. So I mean, that's not what I said. That's what he said. So at the end of the day, we know what time it is. He knows Devin is the truth.
Exactly. And I personally don't think, and he knows that he doesn't have skill to keep up with them. He could have just gracefully said, you know what, right now I don't have the skill to compete with him. Maybe later on down the line. As a man, I can respect that. But to call him out and then backtrack what you said, you're not being a man of your word. I can't respect that.
And even worse,
all he
got to do, he don't even got to do all that. All he got to say is, listen, man, this is my most dangerous rival. I'd rather fight him when we both on our peak. But he didn't even say that. This man said, Devin, he an email champion. And then he turned around and petitioned for an email title through email. Like, bro, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a bad look.
If he was such an email champion, you would have probably fought him long ago. You'd probably ended his career long ago if he was such an email champion.
Right.
It wasn't the fact that he was an email champion. You just trying to create that clout. That's what you're trying to do since you came up on the come up with Lomachenko. We all know that Lomachenko was just the face of the quote unquote franchise. We all know it. Yes, and Lomachenko's on his way out anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if we all really be truthful and honest, how many years does Lomachenko have left? If he isn't already devastated already?
That Lomachenko avoided Devin Haney. Lomachenko avoided Devin Haney for an example. He was overhyped by old media. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we already know what time it is. If T.O. want to prove he the best, he got to go through Devin. But let me read the super chat real quick. Mr. Mechanical, why Bud Litt and Bob treat him like a top ranked slave man? Oh man, he said, and leave if you really know you the best, Bud. Get treated like a second class citizen. Man, hey, Mr. Mechanical going off on Terrence Crawford. Hey, Mr. Mechanical, I'm gonna definitely talk about this on the next show, which is gonna be Friday. Make sure you call in or you stay tuned. I'm gonna answer that question. I'm gonna do a live for the Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson fight. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. Also, there's another super chat. Calvin Hall, I can't wait until Devin put Lopez on his back. Oh man, hey man, like I said, where the TO fans at, man? Oh man, like I said, he letting us down. He letting New York down.
I was a TO fan until we started talking smack about another American fighter. Like, even if you didn't really like him, you could have been man enough to go say it to his face. Yeah. Like, if I got to outlaw another man, I'm gonna go say it to him.
Yeah, but he changed his energy though. When Devin pulled up on him, when it came to that sparring, you know, he changed his energy real quick. But my camera died on me. My computer about to die on me. So I'm gonna go ahead. Make sure you call in next show if you do get a chance to. Great talking with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Definitely.
All right? I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great conversation with all my AKHi. Shout out to Bill, and peace. We out here.